Hello everyone, and welcome back to Teachers Free. If you're new here, we're all about offering free resources, guides, and tips to support both teachers and students on their learning journeys. In today's video, we're diving into the second periodical tests for grades 1 to 6. We'll walk you through the exam objectives for each subject and go over some of the exam questions. At the end of the test copies, you'll find the table of specifications and answer key to help you review. Whether you're a teacher prepping for the test or a student looking for some extra clarity, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our study guides and test prep videos. Ready? Let's get started. For our grade 1 subjects, we have the GMRC 1 periodical test with the following objectives. First, it's about personal hygiene. It's important to follow proper practices like hand washing, brushing teeth, and wearing clean clothes. We need to make sure you understand how these habits contribute to good health. Second, it's about helping the family. You'll need to identify and show ways of helping at home, such as tidying up or taking care of younger siblings. Respecting and supporting the elders is also important. And lastly, the role of the family. You should be able to explain the importance of each family member, their roles, and how we show appreciation for them. We also have Language 1 periodical test where in the exam, you'll use proper greetings and expressions, respond to instructions and tones, and identify naming, action, and describing words from stories. You'll also show good manners during mealtime, understand the importance of prayer, and demonstrate respectful communication. Lastly, you'll recognize how tone and gestures change the meaning of what we say. Study well. These skills are useful not just for the test but in everyday life. We also have the Makabansa 1 periodical test, which aims to: first, you need to identify and draw the characters in the story and their roles. Second, name and describe the members of your family and their responsibilities. We will also discuss the different types of families and how each member helps within the family. Lastly, you will describe your role in the family and explain the importance of working together. We also have Math 1 periodical test which aims to: first, you'll need to compare the lengths and distances of objects using words like longer, shortest, taller, nearest, and more. You'll also solve problems using non-standard units of measure. You'll also practice ordering numbers up to 100 and counting by 2s, 5s, and 10s. When it comes to place value, you'll determine the value of digits in 2-digit numbers and break them into tens and ones. For addition, you'll add numbers up to 100 in expanded form and with concrete models, without regrouping. You'll also solve word problems and create your own involving addition. We also have Reading and Literacy 1 periodical test where you'll need to recognize and substitute sounds in words, and identify and write letters like J, F, Z, Q, N, V, X, C, H, and W. You'll also practice using naming, action, and describing words in sentences. You'll read high-frequency words, describe personal experiences, and understand cause and effect, problem and solution in stories. Plus, you'll identify book parts and predict story endings based on characters' actions. Finally, you'll demonstrate your ability to blend sounds and spell words using the letters you've learned. For our grade 2 subjects, we have the Araling Panlipunan 2nd periodical test with the following objectives. First, you will describe the environment and physical features of your community. You'll also identify the landforms and bodies of water found in your community. You'll learn about the different celebrations in your community and even create a timeline or graphic organizer showing how your community has changed over time. Next, you will identify the map symbols for landforms and bodies of water and recognize the type of weather in your community. Lastly, you will describe the physical features of your community in a creative way. We also have the English 2nd periodical test, which aims to: First, you'll need to answer WH questions and identify key elements of a story, such as characters and events. You'll also practice recognizing and producing sounds like /oo/ /ee/ and long vowels like /I/ and /a/. Next, you'll focus on identifying and using verbs in sentences, as well as understanding how adding suffixes like s, ing, and ed changes the verb tense. You'll also practice using synonyms and classifying words into categories. You'll need to sequence events from a story and recognize rhyming words. Plus, you'll work with phonemes by substituting, deleting, and changing them. Finally, you'll infer meaning and make predictions about the story using clues. We also have the ESP second periodical test, which aims to You'll demonstrate how to be friendly and kind to neighbors, family members, and classmates. You will also show how to be welcoming and trustworthy with guests and new people you meet. It's important to show respect for others, including fellow students and school staff. You'll also practice taking initiative and helping out with tasks that benefit others. Lastly, you'll need to empathize with others, understanding their backgrounds and any challenges they may face. We also have the Filipino second periodical test, which aims to First, you will answer questions based on a text that you hear. You will also learn about synonyms and antonyms, how some words have similar or opposite meanings. Next, you'll use personal pronouns as replacements for nouns in sentences. You'll also make inferences or guesses based on the text you read and identify the feelings expressed in each sentence. You'll answer questions from bar graphs and tables, and learn where consonant blends appear in words. You'll recognize demonstrative pronouns used for comparison and locative pronouns for replacing place names. We also have the MAPE second periodical test, which aims to In music, you'll be identifying high and low tones, and performing activities like Magakyat Babateo and Gayahin Moako. You'll also learn about the shape of melodies and echoing sounds. For art, you will be doing creative drawing and coloring, using lines, shapes, and textures to depict animals, sea creatures, and zoo animals. You'll also compare shapes, colors, and textures in your artwork. In physical education, you will describe body movements, follow instructions in activities, and practice skills like running, jumping, and participating in relay races. Finally, in health, you'll learn about common illnesses and germs, how they affect your growth, and the importance of good sleep, exercise, nutrition, and vaccines. You'll also understand how to prevent and fight sickness. We also have the mathematics second periodical test, which aims to You will solve word problems involving subtraction and money, with and without regrouping. You'll also work on multiplication properties, like multiplying by 1, 0, and the commutative property. You'll practice multiplication as repeated addition, arrays, counting multiples, and on the number line. You'll solve one-step and two-step problems with addition, subtraction, and multiplication, including money. Make sure to memorize the multiplication tables for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10, and solve division problems using different models like equal sharing and number lines. For our grade 3 subjects, we have the Araling Panlipunan 3 second periodical test with the following objectives. First, you'll learn about the Philippines as an archipelago and understand what this means. You'll also identify the size and area of the islands that make up our country. We'll discuss the benefits of our landforms and bodies of water and connect these to the types of jobs found in different areas. Next, we'll explore how people adapt to their environment and how we can protect and value the natural resources that support our livelihood. We also have the English 3 second periodical test, which aims to classify ideas under the correct headings and identify the subject and predicate in sentences. Next, you'll arrange events in the correct order, whether by space or line, and answer questions like who, what, where, and when. You'll also determine the main idea of a story and identify the different parts of a letter. Lastly, you'll practice proper sentence writing, ensuring correct indentation and capitalization. We also have the ESP 3-second periodical test, which aims to: first, you'll show care and respect for individuals with disabilities through simple actions. You'll also write an apology letter to someone you may have hurt. Lastly, you'll demonstrate how to appreciate and support people with disabilities. These lessons teach us the value of empathy and understanding. Let's do our best to apply what we've learned. We also have the Filipino 3-second periodical test, which aims to: una, susuriin natin ang paggamit ng pangalan bilang pambalana at pantangi. Pagtutunan din natin ang pagtukoy ng mga salitang may cluster gamit ang mga larawan. Ikalawa, kailangan ninyong magbigay ng kasingkahulugan at kasalungat ng mga salita. At panghuli, sasagutin ninyo ang mga tanong tungkol sa kwentong inyong napakinggan. We also have the MAPE 3-second periodical test, which aims: in music, you'll identify musical patterns, high and low tones, and the parts of a song using symbols. You'll also recognize SOFA syllables and other symbols that represent song sections. For arts, you'll learn about colors, their brightness or darkness, and the primary colors. You'll also explore harmony and identify famous painters. In physical education, we'll focus on body movements, locomotor skills, and the Tiklos folk dance. You'll also appreciate skills like catching a ball and enjoy traditional games. Finally, in health, you'll learn how to prevent illnesses, recognize healthy lifestyle practices, and understand what makes a healthy child. We also have the Mathematics 3-second periodical test, which aims: first, you'll practice multiplying 2 to 4-digit numbers by 1 or 2-digit numbers, both with and without regrouping. You'll also solve multiplication problems mentally for 2-digit numbers multiplied by 1-digit numbers with products up to 100. Next, you'll analyze and solve 1- and 2-step word problems involving multiplication, including money, and state complete answers clearly. For division, you'll work on dividing 3-digit numbers by multiples of 10 and dividing 3 to 4-digit numbers by 1 or 2-digit numbers without remainders. We also have the Science 3-second periodical test, which aims: first, you will identify common animals and their body parts. You'll learn how these body parts help them move, find food, and adapt to their habitats. For our grade 4 subjects, we have the Araling Panlipunan 4-second periodical test with the following objectives. First, you'll identify the natural resources found in our country and explain their economic importance. We'll also discuss the challenges in managing these resources and the solutions to improve economic activities. Next, you'll learn about the obstacles to achieving sustainable development and how we can promote the responsible use of our resources to ensure their availability for future generations. These topics will help us understand the importance of protecting and maximizing our country's resources. We also have the English 4-second periodical test, which covers: in listening and reading, you'll focus on understanding texts. For speaking and writing, you'll practice using words with literal and implied meanings, setting the right tone, and organizing your writing clearly. In viewing and representing, you'll interpret visual elements, distinguish real from make-believe images, and recognize multimedia components like headlines and slogans. We also have the EPP 4-second periodical test, which covers: defining agriculture and gardening, discussing planting methods, and understanding its benefits. Identifying laws and agencies supporting agriculture and recognizing local gardeners. Creating compost, organic fertilizers, and natural pesticides while considering gardening factors. Demonstrating plant care, propagation, harvesting, and practicing storage, selling, and profit calculation. We also have the Filipino 4-second periodical test, which aims: Sa pakikinig at pagbasa, magawan ninyo ang mga tekstong naratibo tulad ng anekdota at kwentong bayan, matutukoy ang mga tayute, at mayagnay ang mga idea sa inyong sariling karanasan. Mag-aral din kayo ng mga tekstong informatibo at layunin ng akda. Sa pagsasalita at pagsalat, gagamitin ninyo ang mga salitang may denotation at connotation, bibuo ang hugnian pandungkasap, at ayusin ang inyong mga idea ng mayos. Matututo din kayong magpahayag ng angkop na wika sa iba't ibang sitwasyon, tulad ng pagsalating layang pangkaibigan at paggamit ng mga bahagi ng aklat bilang sanggunyan. Sa panunulat at presentasyon, ipapaliwanag ninyo ang mga visual na elemento at paghahamon ang mga mensahe sa mga babala at anuncio. We also have the GMRC 4-second periodical test, which aims. First, you will demonstrate self-confidence by getting involved in school programs that help develop your skills and talents, with the guidance of your family. Next, you will show patience by doing tasks regularly and being open to suggestions from your family members. You will also learn how to speak kindly and respond thoughtfully, keeping others' feelings in mind. You'll practice being obedient by showing care for your family, and strive to be a good steward by helping keep the water clean in your community. Lastly, you'll show love for your country by supporting Filipino values in your family habits. We also have the MAPE 4-second periodical test, which covers. In music and arts, you'll explore sound, theater, dance, and visual arts, focusing on how they reflect local culture and beliefs. You'll experiment with local materials and instruments to create works that express your own beliefs and practice improvisation in rhythm, dance, and art. In physical education and health, you'll learn about family health, your role in promoting it, and improve your agility, balance, and coordination through games like invasion sports, focusing on locomotor and manipulative skills. We also have the Mathematics 4-second periodical test, which aims. In number and algebra, you'll multiply large numbers, 3 to 4 digit by 1 digit, and 2 to 3 digit by 2 digit, with and without regrouping, estimate multiplication results, and solve multi-step problems, including money. You'll also practice division with and without regrouping, estimate quotients, and apply NDAS rules in word problems. In measurement and geometry, you'll convert units of length, mass, capacity, and time, and solve related problems, including elapsed time. In fractions, you'll identify, convert, and plot fractions on a number line, and perform addition and subtraction of similar fractions, including mixed numbers and whole numbers. We also have the Science 4-second periodical test, which covers describing how the human body systems work, explaining the importance of root and shoot systems in plants, classifying Philippine animals and plants by their habitats, listing examples of plants and animals in different habitats, comparing the life cycles of animals using flowcharts, grouping animals by what they eat, herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores, drawing a food chain with Philippine animals and plants. For our grade 5 subjects, we have the Araling Panlipunan 5-second periodical test with the following objectives. You'll discuss colonialism and its effects on the Philippines, including the goals of colonization. Know about Magellan's expedition and how it led to Spanish rule in the Philippines. Understand the methods used to control the native population, such as Christianization, reduction, tribute, encomienda, and forced labor. Also, explain the relationship between Christianization and reduction, the tribute system, and analyze the role of forced labor in establishing the colony. Lastly, review the reactions of Filipinos to Christianity and the role of priests. We also have the English 5-second periodical test, which covers. You'll identify the main idea, key sentences, and supporting details in paragraphs. You'll also classify, explain, and compare different informational text types. You'll practice using a card catalog and gathering information from glossaries, dictionaries, and thesauruses. In grammar, focus on subject-verb agreement, including inverted sentences and irregular/collective nouns. For adjectives, you'll learn their kinds, order, and degrees. You'll also write cause and effect paragraphs and distinguish facts from opinions. Lastly, practice inferring word meanings using context clues and filling out forms accurately. We also have the ESP 5-second periodical test, which covers: first, you'll need to demonstrate leadership by offering help to those in need. You should also know how to report issues like bullying or violence to the proper authorities. Next, you'll need to show respect to both foreigners and indigenous people, especially by accepting their customs and beliefs. It's also important to express your ideas and opinions with respect. You will participate in activities that encourage friendship, like competitions. Lastly, you'll be expected to perform tasks in school projects using technology efficiently. We also have the Filipino 5-second periodical test, which covers: you'll follow and give step-by-step instructions, use verbs correctly in storytelling, and record information from texts. Be ready to describe characters by their actions and speech, and arrange events in order. You'll answer questions about cause and effect, define familiar and unfamiliar words, and predict outcomes using your knowledge. You'll also describe your community with adjectives, interpret bar graphs and maps, and use polite speech when refusing. Lastly, you'll use general references for research. We also have the MAPE 5-second periodical test, which covers: in music, you'll identify the pitch names of the staff and spaces on the F clef, as well as the symbols for sharp, flat, and natural notes. You'll also recognize the notes of a major scale. In art, you'll describe the architecture and natural beauty of landscapes. You'll learn about famous painters and their styles, and create a picture using complementary colors. You'll also draw or paint a historical place in the correct proportions and space. In PE, you'll explain the difference between muscle strength and endurance, and appreciate their importance in class activities. You'll also learn about agility and its role in physical fitness. Finally, in health, you'll discuss the physical, emotional, and social changes during puberty, and understand the difference between sex and gender. We also have the Mathematics 5-second periodical test, which covers: you'll work with decimal numbers, including reading, writing, and rounding decimals up to 10 thousandths. You'll compare, arrange, and add or subtract decimals with or without regrouping. You'll also solve problems involving decimals, including money. For multiplication and division, you'll visualize and solve problems with decimals up to 2 decimal places and whole numbers. You'll estimate products and quotients and solve real-life problems. You'll also learn about ratios, how to express, simplify, and find equivalent ratios, and understand proportions. We also have the Science 5-second periodical test, which covers: first, you'll need to describe the parts of the reproductive system and their functions. Then, you'll explain the changes that happen during puberty and how they affect the body. You will also need to explain the menstrual cycle and ways to take care of the reproductive organs. Next, you'll describe the different modes of reproduction in animals, such as butterflies, mosquitoes, frogs, cats, and dogs. For plants, you'll identify their reproductive parts and explain their functions. You'll also describe the modes of reproduction in flowering and non-flowering plants, like moss, ferns, and mango. Finally, you'll discuss how living and non-living things interact in estuaries and intertidal zones. For our grade 6 subjects, we have the Araling-Panlipunan 6-second periodical test with the following objectives. You'll learn how to use a grid on a map or globe to find locations and describe the Philippines' insular and bizonal position. You'll also explain the country's topography and identify its natural resources, grouping them by type. You'll discuss ways to use natural resources wisely and how to get involved in projects that protect them. Lastly, you'll compare different forms of government based on where their power comes from. We also have the English 6-second periodical test, which covers. You'll need to distinguish different types of informational texts and note down relevant information from what you hear. You'll also practice inferring the meaning of unfamiliar words using context clues, affixes, and roots, and identify the target audience of a text. You'll gather information from sources like dictionaries, glossaries, and online references, and organize this information for writing or reporting tasks. You'll work on writing clear sentences using proper grammar, including adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and conjunctions. Lastly, you'll practice revising for clarity with correct spelling, punctuation, and transition words. We also have the EPP 6-second periodical test, which covers proper care of infants, including feeding and safety, effective management of household tasks, resourceful management of household materials and the environment, identifying tools for gardening and plant care, understanding artificial and asexual plant propagation, smart shopping practices, systematic plant care for growth, different methods of food storage. We also have the ESP 6-second periodical test, which covers. First, you will need to describe how to keep public places clean and how to encourage others to do the same. Next, you'll demonstrate physical activities that contribute to personal well-being and practice responsible use of natural resources. You will also need to show how you can get involved in civic activities, helping out with community projects and supporting the welfare of disadvantaged groups and small ethnic communities. Lastly, you will demonstrate respect for rules and laws by following them voluntarily. We also have the Filipino 6-second periodical test, which covers. Sasagutin ninyo ang mga tanong tungkol sa napakinggan kwento at gagamitin ang mga pangyuri sa paglalarawan ng iba at ibang sitwasyon. We also have the Mathematics 6-second periodical test, which covers. First, you'll need to identify the dividend and divisor in division problems. You should also know that division is the inverse operation of multiplication. Next, you'll practice dividing large numbers, dividing dividends with 5 or more digits by 2-digit divisors, both with or without remainders. You'll also divide whole numbers by 10, 100, and 1000. Be sure to remember the basic steps in problem solving when it comes to division, and practice solving word problems that involve division. In fractions, you'll need to know how to order them, from least to greatest, and from greatest to least. Finally, you'll work on renaming fractions as decimals, and vice versa. We also have the MAPE 6-second periodical test, which covers. In physical education, you'll need to demonstrate the basic skills in throwing, perform the proper technique in volleying, and successfully complete a combination of movements in an obstacle course. In art, you'll create a drawing that appears to move or deceive the eye, recognize different color groups, and explain terms related to color. In music, you'll learn to identify different dynamic signals, recognize the different sections of a band, and identify the instruments used in an orchestra. We also have the Science 6-second periodical test, which covers. First, you will need to explain how the organs in each organ system work together. You will also discuss how different organ systems cooperate with each other to keep the body functioning. Next, you'll determine the distinguishing characteristics of vertebrates and invertebrates and be able to differentiate between them. You'll also learn how spore-bearing and cone-bearing plants reproduce and understand their methods of reproduction.